Hello and welcome to the 10th Revolution Group Tech Success Podcast, where we bring you insightful conversations with industry-leading tech professionals. My name's Katherine Lord. Today I'm joined by Paul Jones from Suntera. A warm welcome to you. Would you like to let our listeners know a little bit more about you and yourself, your career to date, really?
Of course, I can. Thank you, Catherine. Nice to meet everybody. Look, my name is Paul Jones. Most people call me PJ because if you call me Paul, it normally means I'm in trouble by my mum or my wife. So I'm the global COO of Suntera Global, and we are a fund administration, trustee, and private wealth business across the globe. I've been in the business now for probably around about 4.5 months, and my job is to really sort of modernise, standardise, and grow us on a global sort of scale to make sure, again, I can commonize process and procedures and propositions, and of course I can then sort of digitalize them as well. So that's my kind of role, and just make sure I guess, as I'm new, I don't break anything in the process.
Brilliant. So I suppose we want to kind of deep dive
Sure.
into kind of tech today, but I'd love to hear a bit more about you. So do you want to share your most defining moment of your career to date?
I guess as a change and transformational person, I drive strategy, I do acquisitions and mergers and those kind of things, and extract value. I'm also a client-facing type of person as well, so I'm cut from a different cloth. And I work for a discretionary asset management house, and they put me in charge of a client-facing office, the flagship office in London, which was a 15 billion, 97 million pound P&L full of people. And I guess the defining moment for me is that's the first time I've been able to really join the dots between the sort of change and transformation with the people side of change and projects versus the typical technology side and process side and operating model. So it's equipped me to give me the ability to look at things holistically, if you like, not just from a pure tech play, if you like. And that for me was my sort of pinnacle. And that's what I've injected into the rest of my career now, of course.
Okay, brilliant. And so what recent developments in tech sort of excite you the most? You're obviously acquiring, and your firm currently is kind of going through a big growth journey, but what's exciting you within tech?
Well, if I don't say words like AI or agentic AI, I get the impression there'll be people holding me outside and those kind of things. But I guess the difference for me now is where AI is going and gone is it's not just the stuff that's happening now where maybe you and I are just having a play around with it. Catherine, I might be doing you a disservice here, but I've got agents being built. It's making my life a lot easier. It's making me happier. And it's given me scaffolding now to get rid of all the sludgy stuff that nobody really likes doing as their job and the admin. But it's allowed me to do high value ticket. But I think what it's now starting to do is allowing people like me going into a business to start not just talking about AI, but actually fundamentally have the question about our operating model. Because you can't just put AI over the top of poor processes and poor data. You have to re-engineer your business model and do it at the very top level. I think it's now giving us a thorn in the side to say, you've got to do transformation differently. You've got to think about your operating model first, your client, your people, your data, and then AI and agentic AI will then really ignite your business model. But if you don't do it in that order, in my humble view, I think AI will fail in your business model. So that's where it's getting really exciting for me.
Yeah, and I suppose it could be quite dangerous as well from a guardrails perspective. So yeah.
Yeah. I think we've seen some recent articles out from some big firms out globally that they haven't put guide rails up across the globe. And what it's meant is if they haven't got capped people on their usage and tokens around Claude and a few other things, they've racked up massive bills for AI usage for people using it on a very basic level with no real return on investment. So for people like me, like guardrails, like controls and efficiency, it's not working out very well. You've got to have a good control, good framework around it, and therefore you can get your return on investment.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what are the biggest or three biggest challenges you see working for a company going through massive growth and transformation?
I think it's the old days classic, and I'm sure there's a meme knocking around somewhere where who wants to change? They all put their hand up, and then who will change? They all put their hand down because you've got to get that people side of change really nailed. Because there's always a legacy debt to a lot of firms whereby they've rolled out CRM projects before that have not worked out as well as they should, and projects, And again, one of the other things is with that we don't really position change in the right way. In my view, we always paint the picture of Vegas. We're going to create a new CRM. It's going to do this. And it's going to do that. And actually, you don't need to do that sometimes. That's a target state. But actually, without insulting too many people, can we just get to a basic town or somewhere rather than Vegas and just get to the basics and get the basics right? and then you can move on to the next glamorous town and the next one. So we paint it too big too soon, and that's why lots of people struggle with change, because it's yet another COO like me walking through the door with another big platform, another technology play. You have to get them alongside with you and go small, and then prove the cases as you go to get them re-engaged. So the hands don't just come back down when you ask them about change and who wants to change. They're willing to help you drive it through as well. And of course,
it changes the appetite, doesn't it?
That's the one. And of course, with the third strand of that, therefore, comes back to that whole, again, cliched bit, is the culture piece. Is if you don't really get your organization geared up to change, and mine's quite an interesting one because it's global, and I've got lots of jurisdictions with lots of different backgrounds and faiths and different ways of leadership, you have to get your culture ready to support the change and drive it through. And some of that's the soft stuff and making sure they feel involved. Some of it you might have to just drive through and make sure they say, look, this is the center's vision. This is where we're going to go. I need your help to get there. And you have to be able to break those habits, weak accountability, but you equally have to understand the location, the locale, the regulation side of things as well. So you have to be able to foster that culture to allow you to do big transformational change to make sure that you win and deliver.
Yeah, no, interesting. Yeah, I think everybody, even when they're talking around AI, though, they're actually talking around looking at all their processes and getting the people involved and the process and business change sorted first, and then it may come top.
Yeah, that's it.
So just going back to kind of tech success.
Yeah.
Your top tip, but with a fantastic career behind you, lots to go for in your current role, what's your top tip for success?
So my humble view, which is probably quite controversial, and there'll be lots of tech people saying no, is don't fall in love with your technology. Fall in love with the way, what the problem it's trying to solve. Because lots of people are a bit like magpies. They chase the shiny thing and there's another shiny thing and another shiny thing, but they're not really solving the problem they're trying to really get to. So again, it comes back to this operating model. That's your operating model. You want to try and fix it. Look at the way the technology will change that and drive that, and change the operating model to meet the technology and what it's trying to do. And again, you have these concepts of buy, not build, and those kind of things, and taking things off the shelf and all those sort of phrases. And I think this is ones where most people will be more successful if they forget the technology operating model, look at the commerciality, what they're trying to do, and really embrace that bit where you meet the vendor and be honest with both sides of them to say, this is how this will work out and how it'll be deployed. And I hate to say this, those practices you've been running for 28 years are probably going to have to change to make sure the tech can be deployed in the right way, which is a very difficult sell, but it's probably the way it's going to have to try and work in future, because there've been way too many projects that haven't worked out as well as they should, because we fall in love with the technology, we paint the picture of Vegas, and it's just not realistic. We've just got to get to the basic towns and cities we all live in, if that's not dragging the analogy way too close.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for that input. Is there anything else that you want to add to?
Well, I guess, maybe back to the agentic AI side, there's lots of people now sort of trying to go back to, looking at the tech space around the recruitment of people and those kind of things, and making sure we can all go and find these tech experts and AI experts. But often, I think what we're beginning to find is actually you don't have to be an AI expert. You have to be the person that understands the operating model, understands the client and the people, and finding the right skill set and characters to actually fulfill that, and then pull in the AI sort of people from consultancy or what have you, is actually what I'm beginning to see where the magic works rather better than pulling in a person who's a self-proclaimed AI expert, if you like. And that's another sort of tip of success that I'm beginning to see a little bit more headroom into, is getting the right quality hires that don't have to have AI all over their CV. They just have to know how to deploy it, but they've got a good way of transforming a business and landing it well with the people, really.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I totally get that as well. Brilliant. Well, thank you very, very much.
Thank you
for joining today. I'm sure the listeners will find it very insightful, and we look forward to tracking your journey too.
Thank you very much. Thank you.